Well, good evening. Welcome to the flight line at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2025. In typical Oshkosh fashion, if you've ever been here before, you know the weather changes almost hourly. So we had an air show this afternoon, which was hot and humid. We had rain this morning, and then you can't see it behind us anymore, but there's a big gray gust front that just blew through here just a few minutes ago, just to keep things interesting. But the temperatures come down, so it's very, very nice.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. It's like somebody turned on the air conditioner, and an amazing front came through.
Yeah.
Actually, quite beautiful.
Yeah. Everybody knows David Oliver, of course, right?
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here, Steve. This is so much fun to get to be up here at Oshkosh. Yeah. Incredible AirVenture, so many aircraft, and the crowd seems amazing.
Yes, it has been an amazing week so far. Weather's been pretty good, and Fifi's kind of, you can't see her, but she's kind of behind us. She's going to open up the night air show in just about an hour, so looking forward to that as well. So bring us up to date. What's happening at headquarters?
Well, you know, CAF, I've been in the job now about 6 months, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's been a blast, and of course, I've got a long history with the CAF for about 15 years. But really, we're doing so many amazing things. It's almost palpable, the energy and the excitement for what we do. Really trying to bring awareness to just the importance and how amazing it is we get to do what we do in America, to fly our aircraft and preserve, educate, honor, and inspire. That's really what we're all about. And so at headquarters, we've got a lot of new initiatives coming and programs. Our volunteers and our members are really doing amazing things. We've got a great air show season coming up. So just a lot of really, really good positive momentum going right now.
Speaking of air shows, I mean, a lot of the CAF aircraft are on tour right now. You've got the complete tour list on the website, commemorativeairforce.org. But I'm going to test you now.
Okay, what's your test?
The test is, which aircraft are here at Oshkosh?
Which aircraft are here? I was counting them up before you asked about that. We've got close to 15 or 16 airplanes. Okay. Some of my favorite, we've got our P-51 Mustang Gunfighter. Right. We've got Red Nose. We've got the SBD. We, of course, like you said, have the B-29. And I hear there might be another silver big bomber maybe flying today. We'll talk about that maybe in a minute. We've got our Corsair. Love the Corsair.
Yes.
Amazing airplane to see that fly. We even have a Wildcat. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fleet of the CAF is so diverse and amazing. I don't think there is another collection in the world that's got the diversity and the size. 181 airplanes. And I think we're somewhere around 18 aircraft that are here, as well as the PTs and the T6s. We've got them all.
And Ike's Bird. Which is great. We've got a segment, an interview segment that I recorded with the pilots when they came in on Sunday. And it's an amazing airplane, and you don't think about it because it's like, oh, it's an Aero Commander. But when they started talking about it and talking about the history and what it meant to them to fly the airplane, I think you're going to enjoy that.
Yeah, that's Eisenhower's airplane, for those that aren't familiar. And he actually, President Eisenhower utilized it to fly between D.C. and Pennsylvania in his farm out there. And it was an Aero Commander 500, and it's the smallest Air Force One ever in existence. And I saw it fly in the air show today. So it's really neat to see that story get told, because it is the actual aircraft that Eisenhower used.
And it was amazing. Just as we were there recording the interview, one of the pilots said, you know, you wouldn't believe it because you think, oh, it's just an Aero Commander. But when people come up and look at it, read the signs, and start understanding the history of it, that President Eisenhower sat in this seat, you know, and his wife, Mamie, sat next to him. They really start asking questions about tell us more about the airplane. And so it's really a way to bring people in and kind of unusual, because it just looks like an Aero Commander, a twin-engine high-wing airplane. But wow.
Yeah, and it's the same airplane that, of course, Bob Hoover flew in his aerobatic routine. But that's what makes the CAF so unique, is that it's not just about the aircraft, even though we are a flying organization. I always say the airplanes, you know, they're just metal, but the reality is they have a soul. Yeah. And the preservation of them really tells a story about the people. That's what it's really all about.
Absolutely. A lot of things happening in Dallas. Membership is going well.
Membership is growing, and we're seeing that grow. It's really been a blessing and amazing to see that continue. We're planting new CAF units, the new unit initiative. We planted, I think, now up to 12 new CAF chapters all across the country in areas that were not as well represented with CAF, kind of flags to plant. Right. So we're doing really, really good. The fleet is growing. We're bringing in new aircraft all the time. Really a big emphasis, and we've always had an emphasis on safety, but it is really first and foremost, and you'll hear me preach that every day. Really, we have to fly our aircraft safely, not only to preserve the actual aircraft and their history, but to protect our people and to be an organization that's known as an industry standard, gold standard in doing and being Warbird safety. And I always preach this every day. Our pilots wake up and they need to be thinking about safety and preaching safety. So we really, really have an emphasis this year.
Going back to the new unit initiative, along with that, you've also added, as you said, the fleet is growing, but you've added an avenue to put an airplane into a unit because, as we know, if an airplane has a unit or a facility, the chances of success increase exponentially. And so we're seeing a lot of PTs going out into the field, and not only is that great for the individual wings, but it's also a training opportunity for the pilots to maybe make their way up into higher performance aircraft. Because that's always the question: how do I fly a P-51? Well, you might have to start with a PT-26.
That's absolutely right. So funny enough, last week, they couldn't find me in the office. I snuck out, right? I went down to Florida and we bought a PT-26, beautiful airplane. And I spent a couple days flying it from Florida back to Texas. Because I think, again, that's what we're really about, preserving the aircraft and seeing, like you said, some of the newer pilots, the next generation. We're really trying to grow that segment of our membership in their 20s and the young folks coming in. And in fact, look behind us. The future leaders of the aviation world, our industry, are directly behind us. They're going to be watching B-29s and some of these aircraft fly. So that's what we've got to invest in, is the educational aspect of citizenship and understanding the value of these aircraft and the values of just being an American.
There you go. Nathan Hagan is here. He's your Vice President of Education, very involved in the National Aviation Education Center. Again, outreach to the younger generation.
Yeah, we're proud that we raised about $14.3 million, and we put that together to build the Henry B. Tippie National Aviation Education Center, which is 50,000 square feet of all kinds of amazing educational programming that's happening in Dallas. And all of the programs that are pioneered and built there are exportable to all of our CAF units coast to coast.
Each spring you hold used to be called the Winter Conference, the CAF Conference. Tell us a little bit about what went on this past spring and how you're really bringing the units in to help them be successful.
Well, yeah, I always say, I started in the CAF because of the aircraft, and that, it's amazing. It's amazing the fleet we have. But I say I stay for the people because it really is a family. And so it's really neat to see people from New York, California, Alaska, all come to Dallas and share the same centralized passion about preserving history. And so we do that every year, and it's important for our members to get together and break bread and just have a great time. Learn about how to be a CF unit, and the best practices that happen in some units get shared with other units. Right. And so that's really our strength in numbers. And there's no other organization out there that exists that's anything like what the Commemorative Air Force does.
Absolutely. And with the increase especially in the PTs and some of the smaller aircraft, and some of the larger ones too, like the B-25s, units are cooperating with each other, sharing information, sharing best practices to, again, reinforce that safety mantra.
That is our strength, right, is being able to talk about best practices and things that we've learned. And sometimes a pilot will come back with a challenging flight, and that we want to make sure that story gets captured and told so that as our younger next generation of pilots come up, they're not having to learn the hard way. They can hear the experiences of some of our most experienced folks out there. So it's absolutely something that we're really pushing forward, is how we do that and share that safety network of information.
Absolutely. What other things did you want to cover that I've missed so far?
Well, I think if anybody's, I'll tell you this. If you're out there and you're like, wow, this sounds like a great organization and a great group of folks to be a part of, we would love for you to be a member of the Commemorative Air Force. And you can do that online. It starts there by just joining and getting involved with a local CAF unit. That's really the power in what we do. It's not a big staff, right? We really don't have any staff, all right? In fact, what we do is really only because of our members, and we have fantastic members. It's amazing what they do. So if you're interested in getting your hands on history, this is your opportunity. What other organization out there do you have the ability to actually work on, or maybe potentially fly a P-51 Mustang or a B-29? I mean, I'm just a simple kid, right, from the Midwest, and here I am at 29 years old landing the B-29 at Oshkosh. I mean, you talk about,
dreams come true.
Oh, dreams come true for sure. That was a big deal. And you think about how many cameras are going to capture this one landing. I better not mess it up. So, I mean, that's really what's amazing about the organization, and we would love to have everyone is a member.
Absolutely. And speaking of flying, in your leadership role now, do you still get to get out and fly as much as you did?
I sneak out. I think all of a sudden they're like, "Where'd David go?" And all of a sudden here's an airplane rolling down the runway. So yeah, I've always joked that I think flying is in my DNA. It's who I am and what I love to do, and love to see our members succeed and be passionate. I love to see our unit succeed. And it's absolutely true that I do get out and fly as much as I possibly can.
Very good. David, enjoy the rest of the evening here. As you alluded to, Fifi's going to fly. Doc is supposed to fly with Fifi.
This is a special treat.
This
doesn't happen anywhere else except right here at AirVenture.
That is true. And earlier today, the ME-262 from the Military Aviation Museum was flying with 2 Mustangs. Again, another Oshkosh moment. It only happens here. Yeah. So if you're not here, you have to be here. All right, David Oliver, thanks much for joining us today, and we'll
Always
be back with more from the flight line here at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2025. Joining us now on the flight line, Dr. Ravi Chaudhary. Did I get that right?
Nailed it.
All right, and you are a CAF member with the Minnesota wing, and you get to fly the B-25, but you also have a little government background, former Assistant Secretary of the Air Force. So
that's right.
Wow, and former C-17 pilot.
That's correct.
Were you here yesterday to see the C-17 demo?
So I know a few folks in the demo team, and we were chatting back and forth, and they're showing me some of the pictures of it. And to see your fellow airmen out there performing and kicking butt is just an incredible experience. So I couldn't be prouder of being from the C-17 community, and flying those aircraft is like something like out of a dream. That plane, I have to tell you, is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And if I could talk to you a little bit about what it does, I mean, that plane can call a initial approach at 20,000 feet and find itself at a 1,500-foot base turn, descending with all thrust reversers. So that's the kind of equipment and innovation that has gone on that has made that such a successful airframe. So just an honor to serve and an honor to fly that thing.
Yeah. How did you get involved in aviation?
Let me tell you. So first of all, I have to say, Steve, this is a pinch me moment in my career and my life. To be here at Oshkosh, smelling the jet fuel and listening to the sound of freedom is like something out of a dream. And going back to a 10-year-old Ravi, if I would say, building a plastic model of a B-25, I would have never, if you'd asked 10-year-old Ravi if you would be the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force or fly C-17s, I'd say, no, I don't believe you. But if you'd asked 10-year-old Ravi that he would be flying a B-25 at Oshkosh in the middle of July and representing the Commemorative Air Force Minnesota wing, I would say you're a lunatic. But here we are. It's a beautiful day. The cells are kind of coming over us, and I can tell you straight off that this is truly a pinch me moment in my life.
Well, that's good. That's good. And with your duties at as the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, you're pretty high up on the chain of command, so probably not a lot of opportunities to fly, but it must have been rewarding to have, the number of airmen underneath your command, and to be able to sort of direct and guide them through their careers.
Well, I'll tell you what, my role as Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for installations was to make sure that all of our installations are ready to go. And that includes making sure our men and women in uniform have the equipment and the infrastructure to do their job, to deter enemies or security threats and win decisively if needed. And let me tell you, they're damn good at that job. And so nothing made me prouder than to go out to the installations and meet with them and hear what their challenges are. But the biggest thing was to take their feedback and bring it back to Washington and grind it out. Make sure they have the resources they need to do their job effectively. And that, to me, was the essence of what I did. And to me, it really wasn't about rank, high level. It was about making sure the voice of our airmen, our innovators who know how to defend this nation, have that voice in Washington, and that gave me so much pride. Everything from taking care of their housing needs to making sure that they have the right equipment, they have infrastructure and hangars, that they can do their job effectively. And like I said, they've been innovating. The Air Force has been innovating for over 78 years, going all the way back to the Wright brothers to today. And nothing reminds me of that more than when I was sitting on Miss Mitchell today and watching the shows rotate between F-35 and P-51, between the ME-262, followed by another leading-edge aircraft. To me, the old and new of Air Force Blue is connected by the men and women who serve. And that's kind of what I believe the story of CAF is, to bring the story of our greatest generation and tell that story through living history experiences. And so I'm telling you, nothing brings me, can you tell I'm excited right now? But I'm absolutely thrilled to be part of the CAF team and the CAF Minnesota team, and fly Miss Mitchell has been just a humbling experience.
So how does one go from flying a C-17 to a B-25? That's a little power shift there.
Let me just say very carefully, because as you know, the B-25 is a constant speed prop aircraft. So the first thing I did, and Trevor, as a member of the CAF Minnesota team, he was checking me out, and I said, hey, here's my first question. Why do we have 2 engines and 4 throttle levers? And he kind of pulled me back and said, all right, let me tell you about how to fly a real airplane. And so that was kind of my baptism to coming to the B-25 and learning how to fly the aircraft. And so it's always a learning experience, and the relationship between an experienced airman and a new airman like myself, to me, is one of the coolest things, because the type of growth that occurs when learning a new aircraft is something that it's tough to explain when you're not doing it yourself. But all airmen go through it, and I'm going through that process right now as a rookie. So I'll be the first to say that I'm a true rookie in the aircraft.
About how many hours do you have so far?
Oh, not you
enough?
couldn't even count it on my hands right now. It came out, we did the checkout, just enough to scare my checkout pilot, come back, and now coming to Oshkosh and getting some more time to me is going to be a focus item. And that's to me really important. But the real cool thing about being here is meeting with our young folks. And telling them the story of the Doolittle Raiders. You know, one of the important pieces of the Doolittle raid that I like to talk about is the fact that they had planned to take off from 400 miles of range from Tokyo, but they were discovered by Japanese trawlers at 600. That's the courage of our men and women in uniform, to take off the armor, turn it into a one-way trip,
right.
And the dedication and sacrifice of the Doolittle Raiders in that mission is something that we should all remember and never forget, because they did it at a time when our nation needed a lift more than anything. So it also brought forth a doctrinal piece that all Air Force pilots understand. It's that speed, range, and endurance can be decisive. And in the Doolittle Raiders case, speed, range, and endurance was decisive for a nation. And so to me, to even just sit in the seat is so humbling to know that folks have gone before us and served our nation with such pride and such courage. It just makes me want to tell that story every single day, right?
Absolutely, and I'm sure a lot of folks are stopping by the airplane and to say hi, and then you can share the stories. Will it be flying in the air shows?
Yes, it will, and it's already flown once.
Okay.
And it's going to be doing it a couple more times. And again, that's a learning process for me and the team. But when I talk about coming to Oshkosh and coming to Oshkosh together as a CAF Minnesota team, we all it's like squadrons I was in before leaving and retiring from the Air Force. You live together, you spend time together, everybody comes in, hauls the stuff out, we're going to pack up today together, but it's all doing it together as a squadron. And to me, that camaraderie is something that really is fantastic about the CAF mission, and one that I'm going to be sharing with my colleagues all across the board all the time. So
very good.
Pretty awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for spending a few minutes with us, and enjoy the rest of the time here, and keep telling those stories.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Steve. It was a pleasure, and we'll see you on the flight line.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Take care.
And coming back to the flight line, Jim Zazas, CAF member. Good to see you again. Jim is very involved in the Warbirds, and I tell you what, from just 20 minutes ago till now, we were just before we came on the air, we were holding the table down and trying to keep the TV from falling over. And now it's nice and calm. This is
beautiful.
The sun's coming out. So
This is a beautiful Oshkosh evening now.
yeah. I had Jim go out on a mission earlier this week, and you took a bunch of pictures in the Warbird area, and we're going to pop those up and take a look at them. But boy, I tell you, the variety of Warbirds that are here this year is amazing.
It is stunning. I've been coming to Oshkosh for many, many years and spent a lot of time in Warbirds. And this year is so unique that we have, maybe not in the numbers, but we have in the variety. I've never seen a variety as extensive as what we have.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. We have P-38, we have P-47, we have Corsairs, Wildcats, Hellcats, B-17, B-25, C-47s. We have the T6s, Liaison, L-19s, L-17s. You know, the variety is breathtaking.
Well, we're looking at some Mustangs right now.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like Red Nose.
Very much like, yes.
So, do you happen to know how many Mustangs are on field?
I would say that we have a little bit better than squadron strength.
Okay.
So I'd say we have more than 16 airframes.
And it's you know, it's always a favorite airplane, including this one, Canadian registry, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that actually out of Canada, or is that a U.S. Based?
No, that was an actual airframe that served with the Royal Canadian Air Force and was restored, carrying the markings that it had at one time.
Awesome. Yeah, nice,
Very
metal
shiny.
finish. And this one?
Now, this one, I'll be honest, I cannot think of the squadron, but this one is very special. It has an actual combat record.
Okay.
And the pilot that flew it in World War II is here at Oshkosh.
Oh my! Reunited with his original airplane.
With his original airplane. And this every airplane has a story.
Sure.
Everyone has a historical story. But this one is very unique. It was restored recently. It came out of restoration less than a month ago.
Wow. And
they brought it to Oshkosh, and the previous pilot that flew it in the war didn't know that it was here.
Wow. And he's reunited with his aircraft.
Reunited with his airplane.
Absolutely. Oh, and Corsairs. We have an almost a squadron of Corsairs here as well.
Yeah, it's
not seen this many Corsairs here on the field.
I believe
in a long time.
When you include the one that's in the EAA Airviation Museum, we have a total of 7 Corsairs on the field.
Wow.
And one of the Corsairs on the field has a combat history. At least one.
At least one. Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, Jim Tobles is the one up front there.
Yes.
And he was flying in the air show today. He'll be flying the rest of the week as well. The one of the 2 Hell Divers.
Yes. Yes.
And who's the owner of this one?
That comes from the Keagan Fighter World War II Museum.
And that was a fresh restoration last year?
Yes.
And back again this year. Awesome. We've got a few more. And we talked about the cats.
Oh, phenomenal. We have 6 or 7 cats on the field. And most of them are FM2s, but we do have an F4F. One of the airplanes had been retrieved from the bottom of Lake Michigan and restored. And I believe that one has a combat record
as well. Good. And of course, you mentioned the P-38. There it is.
And this one is amazing. This one is my personal favorite. Wandina has a combat record, has 2 confirmed kills. The aircraft went through an 18-year restoration, and this is its first public appearance. And if you notice to the right, those are the original engine nacelles on either side, right and left. So, but incredible history on this airframe.
Yep, and nose art.
And nose art, yes.
Who took care of the restoration of this?
That was done mostly by Air Corps, but also with Zazas Aviation, Breckenridge, Texas. So it was a group effort. A lot of people brought in their skill sets.
Excellent. If you hear some rumbling behind us, that's Fifi making her presence known.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Columbine, the C-121, and this was the airframe that Douglas MacArthur used.
Yes,
in
Rod
Korea.
Lewis.
And Rod Lewis had it restored. They flew it here. I was lucky enough to have a tour of the inside of the airplane.
Oh,
immaculate inside. In fact, so fresh a restoration, they asked me to take my shoes off. Because when you
wear booties?
No, you didn't have to wear booties. Because when you're walking around the ramp here at Oshkosh, a lot of these older airplanes drip oil.
Yes.
And the person giving me the tour, Jeff, who's the flight engineer, he said, I don't want to be the first one to put an oil stain on the carpet. And I said, Fair enough. Fair enough. My shoes off, but it's an immaculate restoration. We have some photos of the interior, which we'll share probably on next week's show. Fifi,
Yes.
this was this morning. They were towing it out. They took it out and then brought it back, and now they towed it out to the throat. So she'll be going out for the air show.
Yes.
In just a little bit.
We have the Bearcat,
Yes.
and then beyond it we have the Cod, the C1. And so but the Bearcat is the one that I was looking at, and just immaculate, absolutely immaculate.
And where is this one based?
That is a good question. I believe that is that might be Rod Lewis's, but I be honest, I don't know, and I'm stumped on that one.
And Sky Raiders. We have a whole passel of Sky Raiders as well.
And what's exciting in this lineup, we have 3 Sky Raiders, and the one in camouflage markings has a combat record from Korea.
Which makes sense because we're celebrating or commemorating the Korean War this year at AirVenture. And this one, I picked this picture out first of all because it's got a 4-bladed prop, and second of all, it is armed to the teeth.
Oh, yes. And what amazes me with the Sky Raider, it could carry more ordnance than the B-17.
Exactly. Yeah. And served a lot longer than the B-17.
Served longer.
As well, yeah, from Korea all the way up through Vietnam. And we had to put this into because a lot of times we focus in on the heavy iron, the fighters and the bombers and things, but there's a lot of trainers, light aircraft that have come out of restoration and have really helped bring the Warbird movement together. As David was saying earlier, it's the entry point to flying some of the bigger things.
But also, here we have the bird dogs. And the bird dogs served an incredibly important role in Korea and Vietnam. And their history is every bit as illustrious as the other airplanes. And of course, we have to have the T6, the SAJs, so, and this is the entry airplane. I like to, people ask me, they said, I'd like to get into Warbirds. And I said, if you want to get into the fast movers, this is the airplane. And if you learn to fly the T6 well, then that will allow the stepping stone to get you into something faster.
A lot of good, nice T6s out there, and an unusual airplane. It's not a World War II airplane, but it's unusual in the fact that it's here and you can get up close to it.
This is very unique. Having the U-2 here, and yes, as you mentioned, you can get right up to the aircraft, right up the line, talk with the pilot. It is incredible to have an aircraft of this stature that operates in the dark shadows, that flies high, takes incredible pictures, signal intelligence, many multi-role, but to have it available right there up front and close, personal, and well worth a visit on the field.
There you go. Did you have a chance to talk to the crew?
I talked to the pilot briefly.
Okay.
And there were some probing questions, and there were some things they said, I can't talk about that.
And the really cool thing is with the U2 is the fact that the pilot graduated from Fond du Lac High School. And for those of you who don't know Wisconsin
I didn't know that.
geography, Fond du Lac is about 20 miles south of here, right? So he grew up there, went to college, joined the Air Force, flies the U2, flew it in on Sunday, and unbeknownst to him, his family was here out on the flight line, and when he came in, they were all holding up signs saying, hey, welcome to Oshkosh and everything, and it was great. And I talked to his wife before that, and I said, well, what's he looking forward to when he gets here? And she said, fresh Wisconsin cheese curds and spotted cow. And I said, well, okay, I think we can take care of that. The A-10s, these came out of Maryland.
Yes.
The only reason I put this one in, again, it's Warbird-esque, but they're retiring the A-10s from the Maryland squadron, and Maryland will no longer have flying aircraft. They're going all cyber, so kind of a bittersweet aircraft. I know a lot of people were wanting to see them. They did demonstration yesterday. They'll do another one tomorrow. Yep. And it will be the final demonstration of the A-10 that we will see.
In the Air Force.
In the Air Force,
and
yeah.
I tell that to friends. I said, if you want to see an A-10 demonstration, come tomorrow.
Yep.
This is going to be the swan song. This is it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
The T-shirt queen, Beth Jenkins, and Devil Dog.
Yes.
You can't walk around, and I've told this story before, but you can't walk around this show or almost any air show without seeing someone in a Devil Dog T-shirt.
That's right.
And in fact, my wife Julie and I had a rummage sale, our neighborhood rummage sale, 3 or 4 years ago, and a young lady came to the rummage sale with her family. She was wearing a Devil Dog T-shirt, so I was like, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. But a remarkable story, because Beth put her heart and soul into this airplane over the years and has turned it into an incredible B-25.
Oh, yes. It's good to see it here on the site. Jim, with everything that you've been doing Warbird-wise, you also took a little trip not too long ago in your Luscombe. Tell us a little bit about that.
I have a 1946 Luscombe 8A, 65 horsepower Continental engine, and one of my favorite adventures or favorite things to do with the airplane is adventure travel. I fly it all over North America. I've made 2 trips to Point Barrow, Alaska with it. I've made 8 trips across the country from the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and back. Yes, it takes time, but it's a great way to see America. And I'll be honest with you, Steve, that little airplane introduced me to the people that got me my airline career job. I had the airplane when I was in the service. It is also the airplane that opened the doors for my Warbird flying because I had the tailwheel experience. That little airplane opened many, many doors. And I met a lot of wonderful people. I'd go into a hangar and I would see a P-51 and a Luscombe. I'd go to the next hangar and I'd see a B-25 and a Luscombe. And I go 2 hangars down and Stearman, and a Luscombe. And I said, there's got to be a connection here. But yes, I enjoy flying the airplane. Put my tent sleeping bag in the airplane and week's worth of clothes and off we go.
Away you went. Any interesting stories to share that kind of stick out on this cross country?
Well, the most recent one.
Yes, the long cross country.
I had, every place is an adventure, but there were a couple things that kind of surprised me. And beauty, going over Glacier National Park, it's incredible. You cannot describe the beauty. Flying along the Oregon-California coastline, it's incredible. But crossing the Minnesota-Iowa state line, I had a weather system much like this. I was bouncing in the weather, and I said, okay, eventually I'll get out of it. Then I see a funnel cloud develop in front of me, and it drops out of the clouds. I go, well, this is different. But I go around it. But that was unusual. It was a cold air funnel.
And you also had some other weather follow you around.
Oh, well. Yes. Yeah. But that's part of the excitement is that you learn to read the weather. You meet people, and they say, hey, let's get your airplane out of the weather. And have you had something to eat, or where are you staying? And they said, we got an extra guest room. We've got an extra plate on the table, so come join us. And they become lifelong friends.
Absolutely, and that's the essence of what EAA and CAF are all about.
Exactly.
Paul Poberesny used to say, we come for the airplanes, we stay for the people.
Yes.
And it's very, very true. One other thing that we do have, and Blaine back in Texas, if you can cue this up for us, we have a very unusual helicopter that landed on Sunday. So let's take a look at that video, and we'll come back and talk about it. And what was that helicopter we just saw?
That was a Hiller, and I do not know the specific military designation, but there are not many that are flying currently, and it draws a lot of attention. And that was another aspect in the Warbirds, because we have a variety of helicopters.
Yes.
We have the Hiller, we have a OH-6A, Hughes OH-6A. We've got a couple Hueys. I mean, there's something for everybody here.
It certainly is, and we appreciate you taking some time to share with us, and and coming out and taking all the pictures. I know that's just a sample of what you had on your phone this morning, and I'm sure there's even more on there. And we also want to point out that you help out during the Warbird air shows, doing the spotting for Danny Clisham as he's talking about everything that's happening. So again, Jim, thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your pictures, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Steve, thank you.
All right, thanks. And we'll be back with more from the Flight Line and AirVenture Oshkosh 2025 in just a few moments. With us now is Keagan Chetwynd, who is with the Military Aviation Museum in Virginia Beach. Keagan is the museum director, and you've had a busy week so far, and it's only Wednesday.
Yeah, it definitely has been. We've got the Skyraider up here and the Messerschmitt 262. So both of those airplanes have been hits for their own special reason. The Skyraider is a combat veteran from the Korean War, and we're just right here on the 75th anniversary of the Korean War beginning. So it's been really special, I think, for people who have family connections to folks who fought in the war, as well as some veterans themselves are still out here trucking around the air show grounds. But the Messerschmitt 262 has to be the sort of great hit of the whole endeavor, I think. So.
It certainly is. But before we get to the 262, let's give the Skyraider a little love. You mentioned it's a combat veteran. What other background do you have on it?
Yeah, so I think the thing that's really exciting about the Skyraider is it shows just how much incredible history you can find in your own museum collection. I think we all knew it flew in Korea, but as we approached the 75th anniversary, we were really curious to see what specifically had it done. And it was on board the USS Valley Forge at the start of the war. So the airplane was involved in the U.S. Navy's first strikes of the war. So if you go back and read your Korean War history, you know that the war begins in late June. The North pushes all the way south in an alarmingly short period of time. They have all the kind of Allied forces penned up in an area around Busan, kind of the Busan perimeter as it was known. The Air Force begins strikes from the Japanese, Japanese bases that they have, but the airplanes aren't able to loiter. The early jets, not able to deliver ordnance accurately. They're too fast. People haven't yet kind of got the hang of how to use them in combat. And the U.S. Navy kind of comes into its own in a role that people thought they were leaving behind. The aircraft carrier was assumed to be on something of a farewell tour at the time, because we thought the next war would be nuclear, and what were we going to need these, Sunday punch strikes off an aircraft carrier for? And it turns out that the answer is you need them if you need to turn back advancing troops directly at the perimeter. You need them if you're going to, loiter over enemy installations and over the logistics infrastructure. So that's really where you need those airplanes. The nice thing about the carriers was they could reposition overnight, and the air power could be massed wherever you needed it. So our Skyraider was right there through all of that. The great master stroke of MacArthur was to lift the pressure off the perimeter by conducting landings at Incheon, and our airplane was there. So pretty amazing piece of history.
It certainly is. And you also had the opportunity at the movie theater the other night to help introduce the bridges at Toko-Ri.
Yeah, we were over there at the fly-in theater with Hal, and that was a great experience. In fact, our Skyraider pilot, Kevin Simbad Sinibaldi, is a retired naval aviator who flew A6s. And for him, it's one of his favorite movies because it gets to the sort of human emotional cost of war in a way that movies at the time really didn't. So it kind of set the tone for a shifting set of understandings about what's at risk when the country goes to war. What was, I think, really cool about it was, Kevin got to share a little bit of the story of why the Skyraider is special for him. And when he first went to work flying the A6s, his instructors were all old Skyraider drivers from Vietnam. He's not quite old enough for them to have been Skyraider drivers from Korea. But, he mentioned that the first time he got in the Skyraider, he knew there was history, there was connection to the sort of proudest traditions of the Navy because it smelled like it had been aboard the boat. So
I don't think I want to know what that smells like.
God only knows, I guess. Having not been there, what I am assured of is that every Navy veteran listening to this, anyone who's deployed aboard the boat,
will know,
knows what the boat smell is.
Well, and then the star of the show so far, at least today, the ME-262, it is a fantastic airplane to watch fly. It's only been flying for a few months, and you kind of went through trials and tribulations to get it here because it's an old airplane and it sometimes is a little testy, but you got it here no matter the problems.
Yeah, so we kind of had a single-minded fixation on one important thing, which is Joe Peterburs, a 100-year-old Mustang pilot who had a 262 victory. He was going to be here.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those failure really isn't an option situations. So we did have an oil pressure sensor go out on the airplane on Saturday morning. Yep. It ops checked fine on Friday. They flew the airplane. They got ready to come up here to AirVenture, and I swear to God, airplanes know when you're trying to take them to AirVenture, and they're like, I need a little bit more coaxing. So the oil pressure sensor broke, and of course it's not a shelf stock part. So we began an effort to kind of scour the earth. So I do have to say thank you to the CAF Tampa Bay wing. The unit leader was very helpful in trying to find a part. He found us one in Florida. One of our pilots, our volunteer pilots, picked the part up, jump seated it up to Norfolk, but it turned out that one wasn't exactly functioning correctly either. So we had a couple other folks in Northern Virginia that rounded them up in Chetwynd Beach, flew them home. Gordon Page, the aircraft appraiser, was helping us track down a part out in Colorado that was then shipped to the museum. And a dozen other people got phone calls from us.
Sure.
And it really was proof that it takes a village to keep these airplanes flying, because everyone jumped up and said, we'll help you find it.
Yeah.
Tell us what it is. Give us the part number. Let us look. Philip Wolford and the folks down at Jet Air that have the FBOs kind of in Illinois and in the Midwest, they searched every shelf they had to find one and kind of called us up and said, on Part Space, we found one. It's at this location. So basically when Monday morning rolled around, there were folks standing in front of the doors of every place that we could identify that had the part, so they could just pick the part up, get it on an airplane, get it to Virginia Beach, and get the airplane here for the show. So, when it rolled out this morning and Joe got to see the airplane, that was an incredibly special moment that we get to share with what I assume was probably several thousand of our closest friends at mobbing the Warbirds in Review arena down at the other end.
Had Joe seen the 262 before the presentation tonight?
I don't know. Not ours,
okay,
for sure. But there was some talk of him having done an event. There were plans for him to do an event with the Collings Foundation and so on. But what was really special was Mike Vadaboncourt and the Timken folks. They presented a 20th Fighter Group Mustang that's fresh out of restoration. And last night they put Joe's markings on the canopy rail. So Josephine, his fiance at the time and later wife, was the name on the airplane. So that was a special treat, to get to be a part of that. And, at Warbirds in Review, what can you say other than you yield the time over to the veteran? And how many more opportunities will you really have to do that? And that's just one of the things that's so special about the community that we're all a part of, is we all just got to sit there and hear this incredible story of how he scored that victory. And how he later became friends with the pilot he shot down.
Yeah. A story that we've heard several times with former combatants. How exactly did he shoot it down? Because I know a lot of the 262s that were shot down were either taking off or landing when they were most vulnerable. But this was actually one that was attacking B-17s.
Yeah, so it had shot down 2 B-17s in a formation earlier that day. Had skipped across to the formation that Joe was assigned to protect. And what he said was that the airplane had come into the formation, shot one airplane down, and began a porpoising maneuver to get itself into position to attack a second one. That had done that, and as he kind of climbed out of that, Joe used the 5,000 feet of altitude advantage that he had to accelerate in the Mustang almost to the point of compressibility to get into position for the shot. He said he fired quickly, the aircraft took the hit, and then disappeared into the clouds. So he never actually claimed the victory because he wasn't really sure what had all gone on. But years later, German researchers would clarify that he had shot this particular aircraft down.
Amazing story. And you said he right on the ball with talking about the mission and the airplane today as well?
Oh, absolutely. It was a rare treat because of just how able he was to share that story with us. At 100 years old, he's going to be 101 in November. He was actually a veteran of Korea and Vietnam as well. So what was really special is there's a Mustang here in his Korean War markings too.
Oh my! So
this was the Mustang-a-palooza, as well as reunion with the 262.
Very good. Now, all of the Warbird in reviews are recorded.
That's my understanding. They're definitely recorded. I think that the folks at Warbird, EAA Warbirds of America, do make them available online. So I would strongly encourage everyone to check them out. I know they live stream them sort of simulcast, but I think there are options to still watch that, to check that out. And, if you're here and you happen to cross paths with a man wearing a World War II Korea and Vietnam veteran hat, stop and say, oh my gosh.
That must be a very rare hat.
Yes. In fact, he was telling the story of how he's given the hat because the lady said, oh, we never find anyone who gets this particular hat. And so they passed it to him.
Very good. We just have a couple of minutes left, but there's something else down here.
Oh, yeah. one of our more eccentric projects, in between restoring a Zero, a Dauntless, and getting the Messerschmitt 262 to Oshkosh, we've had kind of another project going on down at the museum. So we worked with Copper Fox Distilling up on the just kind of outside Williamsburg in Virginia, and we produced Victory Bourbon.
Yeah.
So it is available for sale online. I do have to say all of that, of course. But we're distracted by Fifi taking off, which is I think a right thing to be distracted by. But what's special about this is we worked with the distillery to craft a special spirit that's a celebration of the end of the war, that recognizes the determination and shared sacrifice that this country exhibited at the time. So we tried to get as close as we could to how a bourbon would have been made back then. And in truth, most bourbons went out of production during the war because they were needed as industrial alcohol distilleries, because prop de-ice is just raw alcohol. Yeah. So you needed it in medical supplies, you needed it in the manufacture of ammunition. So if you had one, it was going to be aged for about the duration of the war. The government even put a 200% tax on alcohol to try to preserve the American virtues of fighting the war sober. But it's 100% corn, because that's the grain that would have been available to folks in Virginia, because space on trains being limited and the immense needs to feed an army and feed the allied countries we were fighting the war with meant that you just couldn't expend the resources on transporting everything. So we used a local grain there, grown not far from the distillery. We made sure that we aged it in the same size barrels with the same number of iron bands, as both things were stipulated during the war due to the fact that there were resource constraints. We also made sure that the mash was fed to cattle, because it's a very good thing to feed to cattle. It's incredibly nutritious, and it was what was done as part of the sort of recycling drive during the war to make sure that nothing went to waste.
So does that mean there were some happy cows in Virginia?
There were some happy cows. Yeah, we even used a yeast that has a history during the war. Yeah. The yeast we used was called Red Star yeast, and it was the first one that could be essentially baked into a cake and then reactivated in the field so that soldiers could eat leavened bread. So a little bit of a nerd out, I think, is probably fair to say. The great irony in all of this is I'm not really a bourbon drinker, so I'll have to defer to somebody else to explain whether or not it's any good. But yeah. So.
Well, we have some glassware here, and these actually they've got some home builds and antiques on them. My wife Julie actually received these from Paul and Audrey Poberezny.
Oh wow!
A number of years ago when she was on staff. So these are very
real EAA history as well as
it is. So we figured
we
figured we could get a little museum history, a little bourbon history, and a little EAA history all together. So we'll give this a shot.
Good grief, this is going to be a good party.
Well, we do have a night air show coming up, so what the heck?
We do. Yeah. It's probably the best way to get ready for a night air show as the table slides these away.
I see that. Keagan, thank you for sharing this. We'll give it a shot. Has a nice bouquet. Rather sweet. I'm getting some sweetness in it. Not much of a burn. I think you did okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So if you're sitting at home going, geez, how can I get one of those? There are only 2 states that they don't ship to. I think it's New Hampshire and Oregon, but everyone else is able to grab one on the Copper Fox Distilling website. Okay. Scroll on down, look for the Victory Bourbon, and we like to think it's as close as you can get to the celebratory drink that a grandparent might have had at the time. But one of the things we ask of everybody is that this is a bourbon on a mission. And what we mean by that is when you open this bottle, and we expect you to open it, don't let this one sit on a shelf. There will be another one for the 85th.
Okay.
But open this bottle up, share it with your friends, and invite one another to share the stories of the people you loved and cared about that fought in World War II. We're losing that generation, and so the only way we really keep that memory alive is by talking about it. So this is not just about a nice glass of bourbon. It's about the conversation that comes about with it. So, I guess I'm supposed to say, please drink responsibly.
Yes, thank you. The PSA there. But yeah, it's available at the Copper Fox website. You said it's limited supply, though.
It is. We only made about 600 bottles because it was truly an experiment to see what might come out of the ultimate nerd out on the subject of wartime alcohol consumption and so on. There are a few left, so I would encourage folks to go get them. But
and VE Day is coming up, so
VE Day is past. VJ
VJ
Day
Day,
is coming
yes,
up.
thank you.
But it's a celebratory drink that can be enjoyed across the whole victory in World War II season, even up to about September 2nd when the surrender was actually signed in Tokyo.
Very good. Keagan Chetwynd, Director of the Military Aviation Museum, appreciate you spending time with us tonight, helping you and your team bringing the 262 and the Skyraider here. We'll see them fly again throughout the week. And you have an air show coming up first weekend in October.
We do. We actually have another one coming up even sooner, our Flying Proms event, which is a sunset air show paired with a symphony performance. It was actually August 23rd, and it was a reschedule because our Father's Day weekend was a total rain, hailstorm, lightning situation washout. So I'd invite anyone listening to come on out and check out a really unique event, because it's about this time of the evening when the airplanes start flying, and they're paired up with that symphony performance, which is really a great way to enjoy it.
Good. Keagan, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your week here at AirVenture.
Thanks, Steve. It's a pleasure.
All right. And as we promised earlier, here's an interview that we did with the Tampa Bay wing, who helped you out, and two of the pilots with the Ike's Bird, the President Eisenhower's Mini Air Force One.
The plane flew great. It's a great flying airplane. As far as a cross-country platform, I don't think you can get a really nicer plane. It's
amazing. Yeah.
Pretty roomy inside, even with two people there, and then lots of room in the back for bags and people. So she's a great airplane. This year was a little bit challenging just because of the weather. Should have been about a 6-hour flight. Ended up being almost 10 hours of flight time. We were going northeast a lot more than we were going to the northwest from Lakeland, Florida. But it all worked out. So it was about, a 12-hour day or something like that, all involved.
Gerald Oliver found the airplane. They went to headquarters. Bob and I actually went to headquarters in March to do some training. And then when did you guys bring it back?
Yeah, so we brought it back the weekend right before Sun and Fun started. So it was the Saturday before the show kicked off on Monday. And I got it back just in time. Then we flew it all week, gave a bunch of rides in it, and had a really good time with the airplane. So Eisenhower back in the day, the Constellation was his Air Force One. A couple of things they liked about the Aero Commander. They wanted something obviously could land on grass and short field takeoff and landing, which this does. But they also wanted something pretty easy to get in and out of for him and the First Lady and everyone else. So this has a door on the side. It's a real short step up in there, so that worked out great for the airplane. So this one won out over everything else, because you can imagine the First Lady didn't want to walk up on the back end of like a Piper Aztec and step in from the wing. That was some of the reasons that drove it. The reliability of the airplane. There's a legend that says they actually took a propeller completely off of this airplane, stored it inside the airplane, and flew the airplane across country to demonstrate just how reliable and safe the aircraft was going to be for the president.
I didn't really understand the gravity of it until I started flying it and coming to the shows and seeing people flock to it and how much interest it drew. So that's when it really kind of hit home with me. To me, I was like, oh, it's just an Aero Commander that we're flying around, but then, the more people get interested in it, we get to talk to people about it. That's when it really kind of sinks in that the President of the United States actually flew around in this, and they called it Air Force One, and now we get to fly the airplane. So it's pretty amazing.
And the same thing kind of hit me when I was flying it at Lakeland. We were given rides, and just like he said, you don't really understand the significance of it until you're kind of in it, and then you really start thinking about not only who rode in it, but who flew it, who touched the controls you're touching. And it's a one-of-a-kind airplane. It's the only one still flying of the 6 that they bought in 1955. So while there are some great airplanes here, Mustangs, Corsairs, a lot of rare airplanes and bombers and all that, there's usually more than one of a lot of those. But this is the last one. So when you're flying it around, it's a pretty big responsibility. You don't want to be the guy that messed that up, for sure. Yeah. I stumbled onto the Commemorative Air Force not that long ago, back in October. and you kind of found out what the organization does and how it works for pilots and getting checked out and being able to fly amazing airplanes like this, which was really exciting. What I really like about this wing is some wings are more of, it's more like a flying club, and they take care of an airplane and they showcase it and all that. But most of the people in the wing are pilots or maybe a few mechanics. But our wing, the predominant majority of our wing is volunteers that aren't pilots or mechanics. It's just people that have a passion for aviation, for historical airplanes. So they come out and they do all the stuff that we couldn't do this, without, which is doing the ride desk, volunteering, coming out and washing the airplanes and things like that, helping us drum up support in community and all that. So there's a huge organization behind the pilots and mechanics that keep the airplanes in the air, that keep the wing going. And our wing is one of those. It's really exciting. Our wing leader really wants to grow it, add more aircraft, and expand the wing. So it's a pretty exciting time for us, really.
I'm pretty new with the unit too. I joined like last October, and I'm already here. I am flying one of their airplanes, so it's pretty stoked.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, if anybody out there has always wondered, how do I get to fly a Warbird? This is how you fly a Warbird. You join the Commemorative Air Force as your national chapter, find a local wing near you, join that wing, get involved with the wing, get to meet the people out there. So whether you're a pilot or a mechanic or just somebody who loves airplanes, get involved. One of the things that we do with this airplane, when we have an empty seat, we're paying passengers for a ride, we have empty seats. Sometimes we put veterans in there if we have a veteran on standby, but also our volunteers who don't normally get to fly in airplanes get rides and ease. And it's the same in that organization. So it's a great organization to get involved in and volunteer with. And then anybody who just wants to help support financially, all the wings need that kind of support as well. Ours in particular, it's Tampa Bay wing of the Commemorative Air Force. You can go online there and make donations. We actually did a fundraiser to help us bring Ikesbird up here. So we appreciate any help that we can get, and I highly encourage people to get involved in the organizations. So you can go to the commemorativeairforce.org is the main page, and from there you can link to the others. We have a large presence on Facebook for the Tampa Bay Wing specifically. So it's the Tampa Bay Wing Commemorative Air Force, and that will list all the events that we're going to be at. You can sign up there for alerts and things like that as well. So that's probably one of the best places to find us is on Facebook. Just search Tampa Bay Wing Commemorative Air Force.
And with the B-29s flying over, that will wrap up Warbird Tube for this evening. And we appreciate you joining us. And make sure you watch the live streams from EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2025, eaa.org/live. Until next time, I'm Steve Buss. Have a great night.